Sergio Perez survives. He's like the cat with 10 lives, isn't he? Lives to fight another day, and it didn't look promising at all after that Belgian Grand Prix, with Helmut Marko saying he collapsed in the second half of that race. He's had a torrid time. Is it a surprise? Well, yes and no. Let's take a look. Let's first look at why it's no big surprise that he's remaining at Red Bull, at least until after the summer break. Well, just back in June, yes, just June, less than 2 months ago, he was given a 2-year contract to remain at the team until 2026. A big backing from Christian Horner, who made that decision at the time. And well, he has not really built on the promise of or the comfort of that new contract. Actually, performances have actually gone downhill since then. The reality is that a team like Red Bull will look horrible on them, won't they, if they've just given a 2-year contract and pull it 2 months later. Yes, we know there's a performance-related clause in there potentially. Actually, the season didn't start too badly at all for Sergio Perez, did it? The first 5 races, 4 podium positions, and so he started on a good run of good form. This car clearly, early doors, it was as good as last year's, or looked as good as last year's. Car performance has dropped off massively since then. Last year, I think, was the key moment in really helping Sergio Perez keep this seat, wasn't he? He was a really good number 2 driver, and that's really the reason he's remained. That's exactly what Red Bull needs. Someone who's fast enough, but not too fast to cause them issues like we've seen at McLaren. We don't want the infighting with Max Verstappen. Max is clearly their main man. They want to keep him happy throughout his stay. And he secured second in the Drivers' Championship last year. Yes, it was a car dominating the championship, and he only won 2 of 24 races that season, but he's shown he is a team player. Abu Dhabi 21 was really strongly in his favour. It just showed what a fantastic job he did for Max and the team, and so when called upon, they know they can rely upon him to do a job, and purely that's what they need. But I think, sadly, that's where all the reasons for him to remain in that seat end, don't they? It's just not gone well at all since the first 5 races. Since then, in the last 6 races to Belgium, Nico Hülkenberg has scored more points in a Haas than Sergio Perez in that Red Bull. I mean, he had a run of not even getting out of Q3 in the last few races. Belgium, though, put a stop to that, and you thought, oh, is Sergio Perez back? At least in qualifying only. I mean, even that, he was plus 0.6 off Max Verstappen, so 0.6 of a second slower. You know, other drivers at Red Bull that have previously been there have had a closer gap to Red Bull and been given the boot. I think realistically the problem is who takes his seat, and that is the question. Ricciardo isn't really setting the world alight in the Racing Bulls outfit. Yuki Tsunoda's had his card for a fair few races, and actually the only one that I could say it's a surprise he's been overlooked to take that seat. I think Helmut Marko isn't his biggest fan, and not really the one that he can push on, and actually the only one with the credibility and the results and performances behind him to say, yes, I deserve that seat. And Horner is strongly in the line on the side of Sergio Perez. Liam Lawson is young, but coming in mid-season, will it add to the pressure that we've seen that Pierre Gasly and Alex Albon folded under when they joined the team mid-season? It's not really worked for them before, so I can see why they've stayed clear of that side of things. Getting back to why it's a big surprise, he still remains, like I said, to be beaten on points by Nico Hülkenberg in a Haas for the last 6 races. Belgium, where you thought he's come back into it, a brilliant qualifying performance. Well, brilliant in the sense that he got into a strong position, just lining up second on the grid, but the race just went so horribly wrong for him. And actually, when you look back, it's one that really suited him so well. We're talking about George Russell, the tyre whisperer, but no one talks tyres like Sergio Perez. It is one of his strongest traits was keeping that tyre intact for as long as possible, and it's something he was renowned for at Racing Point and Force Indy before that, so it's his strong point. And at Belgium it really went downhill to a track where everybody was saying it's really difficult to overtake. Lewis Hamilton couldn't get past George Russell on 16 lap old tyres, and so to lose 6 places there just really added the extra pressure on. It's why the results going into Belgium and into the summer break were really hyping up the pressure. Christian Horner, Helmut Marko had the conversation, and well, it's Christian Horner's the one that's won that battle. Is it because the strength of Helmut Marko within that team and his say is weakening? This sort of decision really kind of points to that, doesn't it? Alex Albon and Pierre Gasly will be the one that's mostly miffed by this decision, isn't it? He was given less time and actually was closer, just 0.3 of a second behind Max Verstappen on most weekends. And at that time, they didn't have the car that Red Bull have now. They are the class of the field Red Bull. And so he got just 12 races in F1. He was only in F1 a year and a half. Sergio Perez, in that matter, is a bit of a veteran when it comes to that. His time in F1 is vast. He's got a lot of experience. And so to still stay there, and Pierre Gasly for doing actually a decent-ish job when you compare it to what Perez has done over that time, he will be surprised. Alex Albon, another one, came in mid-season, who replaced Pierre Gasly and actually was on for some really good points. He'd been pointed out by Lewis Hamilton in Brazil when he was on for podium, and again in Austria when he was on for potentially a win. It's like the only Red Bull driver to not nick a podium, but had all the credibility and the characteristics to do that. Wasn't given the time again. Again, he was another driver that was just 0.3 tenths off Max Verstappen. And if you look at one of his more recent podcasts, I think it's a Peak Performance podcast, he was actually saying how it's surprising Sergio Perez is there. He was the closest of the last two drivers to Max Verstappen, and actually been given the time and the car that they've got now, most definitely he would be winning and much closer to Sergio Perez. If buts, maybes, Sergio Perez keeps the seat. The reality is, I think Red Bull made that mistake in giving him the contract in June. When he gave that contract to Sergio Perez, I was screaming at thinking this is a really bad choice from Christian Horner. It really will come to bite him in the bum, and it kind of really has, hasn't it? I think the PR about pulling a contract after 2 months of giving him a 2-year contract and all the backing really would cause more issues in terms of the questioning the management style and the issues that have gone on there at Red Bull even further, wouldn't they? It's not helped. It's still open. I mean, will he remain there till the end of the season? There is still doubt on that, because although Horner has backed Perez, he's kind of said, well, he needs to perform coming back into the summer break. He'll go away for a break, and there's races there where Perez has excelled last year, and we kind of hope that he can come to that. So if the performances don't come, will we really see him there at the end of the season? Who knows, but I doubt they'd get rid of him. Now seems like the perfect opportunity to do that. Get a new driver in, give him a run of 10 races, see where, if he is good enough to keep that seat in Red Bull, and move on from there. I think ultimately they're not confident in the drivers in their stack to take up that seat and do a better job than Sergio Perez ultimately. And the fact that they've given him this 2-year contract really is crucial, really, of what's kept him in that seat. But the man with 10 lives has done it again, Sergio Perez. I mean, it would be disappointing to see him go from the field. He is actually on his day a really good driver, but it's a shame we've just not seen it for the last 18 months, I'd say. There's been splashes of it, but from since the early part of 23, where he had the title fight challenger sort of tag, to now really consistently poor performances, one after the other, costing the team funds in which are limited now with the cost cap, with him crashing a couple of times, writing off the chassis in Monaco, crashes in Silverstone. He really needs a run of strong performances. Will we see him there at the end of the season? I strongly suspect so, but there is still doubt and there's big pressure on for him to perform, so it's not really out of the woods yet. But more backing for Perez, surprisingly so. Are you surprised? Let me know in your comments. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment as always. See you next time.